Americans spread over 400 million pounds of fruit-based sweetness on their morning toast annually, yet most can't tell you the difference between jam, jelly, and preserves. And most of what they're buying tastes like corn syrup had a fling with red dye number 40. Today we're ranking 15 supermarket jams, jellies, and preserves. From the ones that belong in chemistry class to the jars that justify their shelf space. Subscribe and let's dig into the sticky truth about what you're putting on your toast. Smucker's launched their Simply Fruit line in 2017 as their answer to health-conscious consumers demanding fewer calories and no high-fructose corn syrup. The marketing promised natural fruit flavor without the guilt. The reality delivered neither nature nor flavor. This costs $3 to $4 per jar, positioning itself as affordable health food for families wanting better breakfast options without premium pricing. The problem? Removing sugar while maintaining jam texture requires stabilizers and thickeners that create weird mouthfeel. The result tastes like what happens when a laboratory tries to reverse engineer jam from a checklist of nutritional requirements. It's runny enough to slide off your toast, lacks the natural sweetness that makes jam worth eating, and has a distinctly processed undertone despite packaging claiming natural. The irony is thick. The natural version feels more processed than their regular line, proving that removing bad ingredients doesn't automatically create good food. Smucker's Simply Fruit demonstrates that health food marketing can't disguise the fact that you've created strawberry-flavored sadness in a jar. Welch has built their empire on grape juice, starting in 1869 when Thomas Welch created pasteurized grape juice for church communion. They're a juice company that dabbled in jams, and this squeezable strawberry spread proves they should have stayed in their lane. The concept sounds brilliant. Jam in a ketchup-style squeeze bottle for maximum convenience. The execution creates the thinnest jam consistency of any major brand. So runny that squeezing it onto bread creates floods instead of spreads. This is jelly pretending to be jam, aggressively sweet with all sugar and no depth. The convenience factor gets negated by needing double the amount because it's so thin, while the flavor tastes like someone dissolved strawberry candy in water and called it breakfast. Welch has streamlined the formula for squeezability so aggressively that they sacrificed everything that makes jam worth eating. No high-fructose corn syrup and no preservatives sound good on paper, but when the final product resembles strawberry-flavored water, those victories ring hollow. Welch's natural squeeze proves that convenience without substance just means you're consuming nothing faster. Every major retailer sells generic grape jelly under names like Market Pantry, Great Value, and Kroger Select. They're all essentially identical products from the same manufacturing plants, cutting corners on pectin quality and sugar balancing to hit price points under $2. These emerged as retailers realized consumers would buy whatever's cheapest when making kids' lunches, creating a race to the bottom that prioritized price over every other consideration. The texture is the real crime here. Simultaneously too loose and too gelatinous, creating gummy mouthfeel that coats your mouth unpleasantly. Store brands use whatever fruit juice concentrate is cheapest that week, resulting in wildly inconsistent texture. Sometimes it's properly gelled, sometimes liquid, sometimes so firm it requires a jackhammer. The grape flavor is one-dimensional sugar with no complexity or subtlety. You're essentially buying the same jelly Welch's or Smucker's makes, but with quality control that involves blindfolds and prayer. Name brands cost a smidge more but deliver actually consistent products. Store brand grape jelly proves that saving 50 cents isn't worth eating something with the texture of confused gelatin. J.M. Smucker founded his Ohio company in 1897, and this classic red label has been the mass market default for over 40 years. If you grew up American, you ate this. It's the baseline against which all other jams are measured, and it's aggressively mediocre by that standard. This became ubiquitous through school lunch programs and grocery store dominance, succeeding through sheer availability rather than quality. At $2 to $3 per jar, it's cheap enough that families buy it without thinking, creating generational loyalty based entirely on familiarity. High fructose corn syrup creates flat, one-dimensional sweetness that overwhelms any strawberry flavor. The texture is uniform and gelatinous with zero actual fruit texture, while the ingredient list reads longer than it should. High fructose corn syrup, fruit pectin, citric acid, and sodium benzoate. Smucker's held market dominance for decades without innovating, just adding preservatives and HFCS to extend shelf life. Recent consumer pressure forced them to introduce a natural line, but this classic red label remains their volume seller, a relic of 1970s food science that tastes aggressively processed because it is. Smucker's Classic proves that heritage doesn't equal quality when you're coasting on brand recognition instead of actual strawberries. Polaner launched their sugar-free line targeting diabetics and keto dieters counting every calorie and sugar gram. At $9 per jar, it's expensive for jam that tastes like a health supplement pretending to be breakfast. This technically qualifies as preserves since it contains fruit pieces, but it tastes like chemistry won a fight against flavor. Removing sugar and adding artificial sweeteners plus fiber supplements creates something intensified to the point of being almost medicinal. The flavor tastes like concentrated dried fruit that's been rehydrated with sucralose, while added fiber creates thick, weird mouthfeel that reminds you you're eating a functional food product rather than something enjoyable. The texture is simultaneously too thick and oddly grainy. Sugar-free jams are increasingly popular with diabetic and keto-focused consumers seeking options that won't spike blood sugar. Polaner uses artificial sweeteners and added fiber to hit nutritional targets, technically meeting dietary requirements while tasting you just spread vitamin E pills all over your toast. Favorit is a Swiss-made preserve positioned as premium at $4 to $5 per jar. Favorit emphasizes old-world heritage and traditional production methods. The reality is jam-trapped between categories, unable to commit to being anything specific. It has jelly-like consistency with seed bits, but lacks actual strawberry chunks you'd expect from preserves. The texture isn't smooth enough to be jam, and not chunky enough to justify the preserve label, creating something pleasant but generic. The flavor tastes sweet but one-dimensional, missing the complexity that justifies premium positioning. Swiss brands emphasize heritage, but Swiss jams aren't a category consumers particularly care about. Germany, France, and Britain dominate artisanal jam culture. Favorit sounds premium and looks nice on charcuterie boards, where appearance matters more than flavor complexity. It's better than Smucker's mass-market offerings, but underperforms compared to French or British premium preserves at similar price points. Trader Joe's organic strawberry jam is rumored to be made by Crofter's, the Canadian organic brand. When stocked, it's genuinely good jam at reasonable prices around $3.50 to $4. The problem? It's inconsistently available, creating scarcity that drives Reddit users to post things like, "I am legit depressed that I didn't buy 10 jars." Trader Joe's rotates seasonal and limited-run products constantly, making their organic strawberry jam a if you see it, buy it situation rather than a reliable staple. The actual jam is excellent. Organic, real fruit, no high fructose corn syrup, and tastes like actual strawberries. The formula is clean and simple with real fruit texture and balanced sweetness that works on toast, yogurt, or straight from the jar with a spoon at 2 a.m. when nobody's judging. But that level of scarcity suggests it's not a priority product for TJ's. The unreliability kills what would otherwise be higher ranking. You can't build something into your regular shopping routine when finding it requires the luck of a lottery winner and the timing of a synchronized swimmer. I hope you don't have a picky eater at home who only wants this jam. Smucker's introduced their natural line around 2015, responding to consumer backlash against high fructose corn syrup. At $4 to $5 per jar, it's a legitimate upgrade from their classic line with real strawberry pieces, no high fructose corn syrup, and cleaner ingredients. The ingredient list is shorter and actually readable. Strawberries, sugar, fruit pectin, citric acid, no impossible-to-pronounce chemicals or preservatives, just straightforward jam production that would have been standard before food science became a thing. The texture has noticeably visible strawberry pieces and tiny seeds, delivering actual fruit character instead of gelatinous uniformity. It tastes like Smucker's finally remembered that jam should taste like the fruit on the label, not like sweetened pectin with fruit flavoring. The problem is it's expensive for a mass-market brand, and it still tastes more like Smucker's trying than genuinely premium jam. It's the jam equivalent of a fast food restaurant adding salads to seem healthy, a step in the right direction but not quite authentic. Smucker's Natural proves that even corporate giants can improve when consumers actually demand quality instead of just accepting whatever's cheapest. Welch has built their reputation on grape juice for communion and school lunches, but their strawberry spread won a chef's best blind taste test against Smucker's. Professional chefs ranked it higher for intensity of fruit flavor, aroma, sweetness, and character when used in a peanut butter and jam sandwich. This is a grape juice company attempting premium strawberry, succeeding through actual fruit flavor instead of relying on brand recognition. No high fructose corn syrup, no nonsense, just straightforward jam that delivers what it promises at $3 to $4 per jar. The chef's best endorsement provides marketing leverage and professional validation, though it's not dramatically better than alternatives at the same price point. It's solid mainstream jam that gets outperformed by actual premium brands at only slightly higher prices. The strawberry flavor actually tastes like strawberries instead of flavored sugar, creating jam that works on peanut butter sandwiches, where the endorsement matters psychologically, and on toast, where the flavor can shine without competition. Welch's strawberry demonstrates that professional endorsements mean something when backed by actual quality. Bonne Maman launched in France in 1967 with that iconic red and white checkered label and cute jar that looks like it belongs in a Provence countryside kitchen. At $5 to $6 per jar, it's genuinely good preserve with proper fruit pieces and balanced sweetness. The brand built a reputation on simple and traditional recipes with natural ingredients and instantly recognizable packaging. That jar design is so collectible that people reuse them for everything from spice storage to craft projects, creating brand loyalty through aesthetic appeal as much as flavor. The actual jam is very good. Real strawberry pieces, proper preserved texture, balanced sweetness that doesn't overwhelm. But the reputation slightly exceeds the product, with people loving the aesthetic and French premium positioning as much as the actual flavor. Reddit communities rave about certain Bonne Maman flavors, like wild blueberry and cherry, and say, once you try it, you won't like other brands. The strawberry is good, but not revolutionary, working perfectly on charcuterie boards where aesthetics matter and croissants where French heritage feels appropriate. Bonne Maman strawberry proves that you're paying 30 to 40% more than Smucker's Natural for genuinely better jam, but acknowledge you're also paying for the cute jar and French mystique. Okay, we have just seen what to avoid. Now we're getting to the jars that'll change your breakfast forever. Subscribe and stick around. The top 5 are where things get seriously delicious. Crofter's pioneered reduced sugar preserves in North America using 45 to 50% sugar versus standard 55 to 65%, letting actual fruit flavor shine instead of masking everything with sweetness. This Canadian organic brand at $4 to $5 per jar delivers genuinely premium product at reasonable prices. The philosophy is straightforward. Organic fruit, reduced sugar, no nonsense. The result is preserves where you actually taste the fruit instead of just sweetness, with no anything added or processed unnecessarily. Some Reddit users suspect Trader Joe's private label jam is Crofter's repackaged. The brand lacks the cultural cachet of French or British options, competing on quality alone rather than heritage marketing. People buy Bonne Maman for the jar. They buy Crofters because it's actually excellent jam that doesn't need cute packaging to justify its existence. The reduced sugar means it's less shelf-stable and spoils faster once opened, but that's the trade-off for less sugar and more authenticity. It works brilliantly on toast, in yogurt, or on cheese boards where quality jam matters more than brand recognition. Crofter's Organic proves that premium jam doesn't require French premium pricing when you focus on ingredients. Austrian jam tradition emphasizes whole fruit and minimal processing, and Darbo's Apricot preserve at $5 to $6 per jar represents this philosophy perfectly. Thick, chunky, and with real apricot pieces. This is a preserve where you can see and bite into actual fruit chunks. Apricot is fundamentally better than strawberry for preserves. Less oversaturated market, more natural complexity, better balance of sweet and tart. Darbo uses whole apricots, sugar, and not much else, creating preserve with a complex flavor that's sweet but retains natural apricot tartness. Reddit foodies who've discovered it call it exceptional. Their strawberry preserve is a chef's kiss. Just get this instead. The apricot specifically showcases what premium preserve should be: concentrated fruit flavor that hasn't been engineered around one sugar profile. It's not ranked higher because apricot preserves have a smaller audience than strawberry. People either love apricot jam or they don't, creating a natural ceiling for how popular it can become. But for apricot enthusiasts, this is peak preserve. Darbo Apricot proves that if you like apricot, this changes your mind about what jam can be when made properly. Wilkin & Sons established Tiptree in 1885 with Old World jam philosophy. Select specific fruit varieties, cook in small batches, prioritize fruit quality over shelf stability. These two flavors particularly showcase this approach at $6 to $8 per jar. Traditional British recipes using whole fruit create premium preserves that taste like homemade jam from countryside kitchens. The Tiptree Apricot has 17,000 Amazon reviews with 4.5 stars, while the Morello Cherry specifically uses cherries from specific regions for distinctive tartness. The complexity of specific apricot varieties and the tartness of Morello cherries create flavor depth that mass market can't replicate. These aren't just cherry flavor or apricot flavor. They're specific varieties chosen for specific characteristics. These work brilliantly on scones with clotted cream, toast, or pastries where complex fruit flavor should be the star. They're too sophisticated for peanut butter applications, creating preserves for people who actually care about jam quality. Tiptree proves that premium jam for serious enthusiasts justifies premium pricing through actual craftsmanship instead of just premium marketing. While Bonne Maman's strawberry ranked at number 6, their cherry preserve sits at a completely different level. Reddit users specifically praise it. Thick like a compote, has big chunks of actual sweet cherries, and doesn't taste like maraschino or cough syrup. This uses whole cherry pieces and balances sweetness with tartness properly, creating preserve that actually tastes like cherries instead of flavored sugar. The texture is substantial with visible fruit chunks suspended in a properly set preserve. The problem keeping it from number 1 is availability. It's seasonal and limited, making it harder to find than everyday preserves. When you find it, buy multiple jars. That's the standard advice from people who've discovered it. The cherry flavor is what separates good preserve from exceptional preserve. Most cherry jams taste like cough syrup, or those weird maraschino cherries that belong on ice cream sundaes, not toast. Bonne Maman's cherry actually tastes like fruit. Bonne Maman Sherry proves that when French preserve makers get specific flavors right, they justify every cent of premium pricing. Stonewall Kitchen launched in 1989 in Maine, pioneering the artisanal jam category in America, when most Americans thought Smuckers represented the peak of jam evolution. At $6 to $7 per jar, this represents the highest tier of widely available jam. The company uses locally sourced fruit when possible, smaller batches, and actual flavor innovation beyond just, here's strawberry, in a different jar. The wild Maine blueberry is genuinely superior to any mass-market option, using small, intense Maine blueberries instead of generic cultivated berries. Small batches and real ingredients create jam that actually tastes like concentrated fruit instead of sweetened pectin with fruit essence. Some Consumer Reports blind testers found musty off taste in older samples, but survey data shows strong loyalty from people who specifically hunt for Stonewall Kitchen. The brand created real artisanal jam at fair price points, proving that quality ingredients and actual craftsmanship can exist in mainstream supermarkets. Once you eat Stonewall Kitchen, mass-market jam becomes unacceptable. Stonewall Kitchen proves that American artisanal producers can compete with European heritage brands through actual quality instead of just claiming it. The jam aisle is where fruit meets corporate cost-cutting, and your breakfast deserves better than high-fructose corn syrup pretending to be strawberries. Choose the brands that remember fruit should taste like fruit instead of chemistry experiments. Hit subscribe for more truth about what's actually worth your grocery budget, and drop a comment about which jam ranking shocked you most. Until next time, keep your standards high and your preserves honest.